People have strong opinions on marriage, so if this video feels aggravating to you, it might not be meant for you, and that's okay. The video, not marriage necessarily. If you're in the season of life where you're going to a lot of weddings or you're witnessing a lot of people get married, like you're seeing it on the internet, and you yourself aren't married and you don't know what you want and or you know what you want but you don't have it, you might be experiencing what I call marriage anxiety. By marriage anxiety, I don't mean fears about being in a marriage or being a married person. I'm talking about the stage in life where you're watching what feels like everyone around you get married. So you enter a state of overthinking mode and worrying mode and analyzing mode, and that is what I'm calling marriage anxiety. In a way, the tools in this video can be applied to any life milestone or like mainstream pressure, such as buying a house, having a baby, going to college, but I just happen to be talking about marriage specifically. I'm at the point in my life where I'm analyzing my personal marriage anxiety. I'm asking myself, am I romanticizing marriage as I see it or view it because I'm attending weddings where everything's so joyful, or do I actually want a marriage? And it can be really hard to tell the difference between the two. And I don't want to say that getting married is trendy, but it is definitely trendy in the age group and the season of life that I'm in. The very first thing that I think is worth noting is acknowledging any of biases that we may have, as well as any external pressures. And so one of those is being the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. I think I have talked about this on my channel before, who knows, but this is the phenomenon that's when you hear of something or you hadn't heard of something in a while and then you start to see it everywhere. Or you're going to buy a red car, so now everywhere you go, you just see like so many red cars and you're like, has this really always been the case? And it's really just like kind of like attention bias. It's where your attention is going. And so when it feels like the whole world is getting married, marriage is on your mind, and then when marriage is on your mind, you're seeing every single person who's getting married. The second bias isn't really a bias, but it's a social theory, and that is the social clock. And so this was a social theory coined by Bernice Newgarden, basically where individuals in a society internalize the expectations that they see others doing, and then they use those expectations or timeline milestone events as a way to evaluate how they themselves are doing and living their lives. Does this sound familiar to anyone? It's absolutely no wonder that we all experience this social clock because we, again, live in a society. But I think it's worth acknowledging both the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon and the social clock when we're thinking about something like marriage or something like a milestone. Also, marriage doesn't have to be a milestone, but alas. So we have that bias, and now we want to sort of overcome that bias. One thing to consider is not making important decisions or nailing down your beliefs when you are in the middle of the most influential or trendy season of that thing that's happening. It can help when it's actually something like winter, where you can actually think these things through. Also, I encourage you to think about all the beliefs that you've had in the past and or suspect that you might have in the future. So for example, you might feel a certain way right now, you might have some sort of marriage fever right now, but what did you feel 2 years ago? What do you expect yourself to feel in 10 years? And does marriage as an institution stand the test of time for me? Kind of comparing these answers can kind of maybe get you to what might be your gut and what other answers might be entirely or very much so influenced. If they're all over the place, that is okay too, because our next tool is all around getting clear-ish. And the ish is very important. This looks like getting clear on our wants, on our importance of this thing, whatever it is. So this could also apply to babies, for example. What pressures am I finding on myself around this thing? And what are my actual values and beliefs around this thing? So for wants, do you want a wedding? Different question than, do you want to get married? A different question than, do you want to be married? These are all three different things. Importance, is marriage or having a baby or going to college a big deal to me? Or is it not that big of a deal, but I might do it anyway? Or what is your sense of importance around that for you? Think about the pressures. So think about cultural pressure, think about familial pressure, think about the social clock pressure that we talked about. And speaking of the social clock, what are other social clock pressures that you've experienced before in your life, and how did you handle them? I think that's actually a really important question, and I really love that question that I just created. And then finally, and very importantly, what are your values and beliefs around this thing? And so sometimes that can look like the most important part of getting clear-ish, because maybe you don't know, or maybe you think you know, but you feel like you haven't challenged yourself enough, so you're not super confident in what you know. And maybe you just need to do some reading, you know? Maybe you're a person who values, I don't know, I looked at it from like a feminist lens. Let's do some reading. Let's determine, get more information, and then determine what we think of this thing from the value, or from the lens of that value. And if you're interested in getting clearish, I have a few resources in the description box. One is a podcast, one is a book, and one is a YouTube video. Getting clear-ish is very helpful, but it might actually be more important to not get to the point of obsession. So what we want to do here is create psychological distance between you and whatever you're overthinking. Getting clear is really not worth the obsession that might overtake you. So a few months ago, I was completely in my head on this topic, and I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to get like so clear, crystal clear from every single angle that I could think of. So I'm talking practical, emotional, financial, feminist, all these different angles. This didn't help me because that was my one thing I was overthinking, 24/7 whenever I was awake. And sometimes stuff does happen in your dreams, so it might actually be 24/7. My mind was so absorbed in that one thing, and I needed to get out of the loop. So that's when I started leaning into the ish part of getting clear-ish, or just not getting clear yet. Releasing the pressure might be the best thing that you can do for yourself. Another way to create psychological distance, if you're actually on your way to a wedding, is to prep your mindset. This is not your wedding, so you do not need to comment in your head about what things you like and don't like or would do differently, because it's not your wedding. And your preferences really don't matter. It's really creating that distance between whatever this wedding is and not letting it be yours in your head. If you experience marriage anxiety right now, I want you to know that you are not alone. I feel it too. I hope this video can help you uncover some biases that you might have, stop you and give you some distance from over obsessing about something, and then also help you better examine what your beliefs might be, as well as how susceptible you are to trends or influence in what's actually happening in your life and the life around you. Finally, today is June 29th. I hope to reach 500 subscribers by the end of June, which is tomorrow? ? So if I'm close, help me by sending this to a friend or something like that. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for helping me get there, hopefully, maybe. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.